Soldiers today are more likely to be diagnosed with PTSD and less likely to see actual combat. Today, I will discuss the relation of new onset PTSD with deployed military personnel in occupation of a foreign country. First, we will go over the study requirements for inclusion and exclusion. Next, we will go over some results broken down by demographics. The study started out with over 220,000 soldiers that were deployed between January 1st, 2005 and November 30th, 2008 in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. Based on a study performed in 2013 by J. Mayo that was published in the Military Medicine, for inclusion, personnel had to be on deployment greater than 1 month and no more than 18 months. Personnel who began a second deployment within 365 days of ending their first deployment were excluded to allow a full year of follow-up time. For exclusion, anybody with previously diagnosed mental health conditions were excluded. Also, according to the previously mentioned study by J. Mayo in 2013 that was published in the Military Medicine, after all criteria were met, the final study population consisted of 32,196 Marines and 8,404 Navy personnel. So we started out with a sample of 220,000 soldiers. Of those, 46,000 soldiers were diagnosed with PTSD and/or depression. We eliminated those with pre-existing mental condition, leaving 40,600 troops. From here, this population was broken down based on demographics and reported as follows. Based on the results from the study conducted by J. Mayo that was published in the Military Medicine in 2013, demographic and military specific information including age, race or ethnicity, education, marital status, rank, and occupation were obtained from Department of Defense deployment data. First, results were classified into two different categories, being battle-injured and non-battle-injured cases, with both being relatively low. For battle-injured, Marines had 2% and Navy had only 1%. In J. Mayo's study from 2013, published in Military Medicine, they reported that both Navy and Marine Corps personnel injured in battle are more likely to be diagnosed with PTSD than those not injured. Then, occupation was broken down into subclasses of combat-related specialists and non-combat related or support personnel. 31% of Marines were combat-related specialists, while 6% of Navy were combat-related. This indicates that Marines have a higher percentage chance of becoming battle-injured and being diagnosed with PTSD, while the Navy personnel have a higher percentage of being diagnosed with new onset PTSD while performing support jobs. The mean age of those diagnosed for the Marines was 23 years old, while the mean age of the Navy personnel was 27 years old. Race or ethnicity was broken down into three classifications: white, black, and other. The Marines were broken down respectively with 10% white, 85% black, and 55% other, while the Navy averaged 16% white, 68% black, and 16% other. Education was broken down into high school or less versus some college or more. The percentage of Marines that had no college was 97%, and the Navy had 93%. According to the report, out of those that were diagnosed, 63 of Marines are unmarried and 50% of Navy were unmarried. All participants in this study were enlisted or non-officers. Rank was broken down into three categories. E1 or E3 had the highest percentages, with Marines at 62% and Navy at 40%. E4 and E5 had 29% for Marines and 38% for Navy. E6 to E9 had the least amount of soldiers diagnosed, with 10% Marines and 22% Navy. According to J. Mayo's 2013 study, Role of Occupation on New Onset Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder and Depression, among deployed military personnel published in Military Medicine. Despite the fact that high rates of mental health problems exist among personnel deployed to OIF, research shows that many do not seek treatment. One explanation for the high rate of new onset PTSD and depression we found among Navy healthcare personnel specialists is an increased willingness to seek and receive care for mental health issues in comparison to Marine Corps combat specialists. Over 40,000 developed PTSD as a result of the deployment. That's 18% of the soldiers in just this study. And it could be higher due to the service members not getting treatment for various reasons. In conclusion, when breaking down demographics for PTSD and depression, cases we see that it affects a range of people from injured to non-injured, from the battle-hardened warriors on the front line to non-combat support positions like medics and supply personnel. Anyone can be affected, and that is why we need to continued support for our troops and veterans. Thank you.